This conference will now be recorded.
So I worked on different implementations as well as upgrade projects. Currently, I'm working on a support project for a US pharma company. Okay. So can you quickly introduce yourself, Pushkal and Riaz?
Yeah, hello everyone. Pushkal here. I'm an
Yeah, yeah.
SAP SD consultant, and
Okay.
recently I've been assigned to an Vistex project.
Okay. So you're based out of which place?
I'm based out of Pune.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Okay. I think so. We are good to start. So I hope you guys can see my screen. Okay. So today we'll try to cover like what is Vistex. So what is the importance of Vistex and how it is different when compared to SAP standard SAP SD. Okay, so the different modules which are part of Vistex and how they will be, how we can implement them related to the based on the business scenario. That is what we'll try to understand. Okay, so basically Vistex it is founded in 1999 and it is headquartered in the USA. Okay, so from 2006, it is part of SAP or SAP. Okay, so it is a global reseller for SAP as well as a solution extension partner for SAP. But it's a big company, but it is a privately owned company. Okay? So it doesn't have any stock options kind of thing. It is completely privately owned. So Vistex mainly deals with the rebates, commissions, and the sales incentives part. Okay, so basically it is like a solution extension of SAP. So if you see for Vistex to work, it requires a source document. So for that one, I believe everyone is aware of the OTC cycle. So we will be using the invoice as a source document. Okay, so we can also use sales order delivery, but as the actual sale happens and the monetary transactions happen after the invoice. So after that only the that is mainly used as a invoice is used as a source document in most of the cases and most of the projects. Okay, but if need be, we can use sales order and delivery also as a source document. This is when it comes to the sales cycle. When it comes to purchasing cycle, okay, we have like in Vistex we also have purchase rebate. Their purchase order is used as a source document. We will try to understand the importance a little later. But for now, just try to remember this thing. So as I mentioned earlier, Vistex is a solution extension partner for SAP, meaning it sits completely on SAP and it doesn't require any external communications or any other interfaces to work. Okay, so everything it can seamlessly access the master data, customer master, material master, vendor master, pricing, everything Vistex can access seamlessly. Okay. So there are like different versions of Vistex which are available in the market, and the latest version being the 6Y SP5. But as part of the training, we'll be we'll be working on the 6Y SP1 version. So Vistex, how why it is important and why it has gained so much importance in the market is because of the way in which it handles the scenario. So Vistex can handle very complex scenarios and complex calculations. Okay, so let's take one example. So if you take a pharma business like big pharma companies like Cipla or Novartis or Torrent Pharma or Dr. Reddy. So if you see, they'll be doing like so many millions of transactions will be happening in a month. Okay, so there will be like so many 5 lakh to 10 lakh lines which will be generated in one month. Okay, so to handle such kind of huge volumes, Vistex can do it very easily. Okay, so it can handle complex calculations also. So as I mentioned earlier, so Vistex it sits on top of the standard SAP landscape. Okay, so if you see, as far we have the core modules MM, SD, CO, and FI, so it sits on top of that, so it can access all the master data pricing, everything seamlessly without any interfaces. So as part of this training, you'll be we'll be covering these 5 modules. Okay, so these text modules are basically they're segregated into 2 parts. Okay, so one is the incentive administration. So incentive administration is it covers 3 modules. One is the sales rebates. Okay, so here someone purchases a product and they are given a discount or rebate based on the purchase they have made. So that is like the sales rebate, typical general example. And the second one is the purchase rebates. Purchase rebates means I am so this purchase rebates it typically applies to the distributor. Okay, so but distributor what will tell the manufacturer saying he will tell the manufacturer saying like I'll purchase 100 k worth of goods this month or in this year. So based on the volume which I purchased or I will purchase 10,000 quantity this month. So based on that you give me this much of rebate. So this kind of scenarios these are handled in purchase rebates. Okay. So the next one is the sales incentives or sales commissions. So this can be implemented across different industries, which are mainly into marketing and sales. Okay, so they want to promote the sale, motivate the sales employees for doing better performance, so they can implement sales incentives. Okay, so this is one part. These 3 modules are part of the incentive administration. And when there is the second one is the SAP paybacks and chargebacks by Vistex. Okay, so this is like both chargebacks and billbacks they go hand in hand. So billbacks they are generally this module is generally installed by the manufacturer. And when we talk about the chargebacks, this is mainly installed by the distributor. Okay, we will see in detail. But for now, as part of this training, please try to understand that these 5 modules are covered in this text. So as I mentioned earlier, for this text to work, we require transactional data, right? So transactional data is nothing but the source document based on which the Vistex document is created. So I just have one screenshot of the different source documents which are available in the system. If you see here, we have like billing document, sales document, delivery, claims, and transactions. Okay, so from a sales perspective, you see these 5 documents can be used as a source document. So why they have provided these many options is, as I mentioned earlier, in our OTC cycle we have 3 options, right? So the sales order, delivery, and billing. So we can use any one of them, and the other two are these two are specific to Vistex. Okay, so claim document it is also when there is no source document we will be using claims. Okay, so this comes into picture in chargebacks and billbacks. Similarly, we have transactions. If you want to have create some document when there is no source, like in detail, we have like POS point of sale, right? So if you want to just feed in the data and create a source document for Vistex to process the data, so there we'll be using the last one transactions. Okay. So this is the typical Vistex cycle, how it operates. Okay, starting from the beginning to the end. Okay, if you see, the first part is like setting up the Vistex agreement. So what is the Vistex agreement and why it is important? So this we need to understand. So in agreement, what we are trying to do is like, I'll just give you one small example, easy to understand. So, so this is a small example how we set up the Vistex contract. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is here is like I'm just trying to validate if the customer is eligible for this specific rebate. Okay, so this is like a sales rebate example. Let's say what I'm trying to do is like I'm just trying to validate the customer. This is how we maintain Vistex contract or Vistex agreement. I'm just trying to see if this customer is eligible. Okay, so I maintain one condition here. Example. Okay, so this is in this condition, which is part of the Vistex agreement. I'll maintain this customer code. Okay, so that is like maybe something like that. And in another condition, material benefit. I'll give material code. Okay, saying this is 2% on the rebate basis. When I say rebate basis, the invoice value, or we can have any value, but for this example, I'm saying like that. Okay, so this is like how the Vistex agreement is set up. Small example. Okay, so this is how Vistex agreement is set up. Here we will be mentioning like so many different parameters, also saying validity dates of the agreement, the sales area for which it is applicable. So different parameters we will try to fit in, for which based on which we'll be doing the further process. Okay, so first thing is like having a setting up the agreement based on the terms which we have with our customers. Okay, the second one is like identifying the transaction letter, the source document. So we have like in sales we'll be using invoice generally. And if we take the case of purchase rebates, we'll be using the purchase order as a source document. Okay, so that is like the second component. So the next one is the creating the Vistex document. Okay, so similar to our SAP SD, in which we will be creating the sales order delivery billing. So in Vistex, it will create its own separate document, which is called as IP document or the Vistex document. Okay, so here what will happen in Vistex document? So let's take the small example. PA 00, or the price of the material is like $1,000. Okay. So as per my agreement, what will happen? What is the calculation which should happen in my Vistex document? So what I'm trying to do is like if this is the invoice, so the PA 00 value is like example 1,000. So I'm saying I'll define a separate pricing procedure. Okay? Similar to our SD, we'll be defining separate pricing procedure in Vistex. We will be going into detail each one of them. So you see 2% on $1,000 will be $20, right? So this text document, what it will do is like it will do run the pricing engine condition technique, and it will arrive at the value saying this much is the amount which we need to pay to the customer. Okay. So after that, what will happen? We have to give the money to the customer, right? So we can have accruals and settlement also. Accrual is nothing but the bookkeeping purpose. It is generally used for a bookkeeping purpose. So wherein the actual amount is not transferred to the customer, but it will be happening within the internal account. Transaction will be captured in the internal account. Okay. The next one is the actual settlement. So when we settle this Vistex document, so this $20 is the rebate which we have to pay to the customer, right? So this will be transferred to the customer and the credit memo is triggered. Okay. So this small example which I explained right now, it falls under the transaction process. Okay, so Vistex transaction process. Similarly, we have the when I say transactional model, this is not more transactional model. Okay, so this is like per document. Okay, so in this what we are trying to do here is like invoice is there based on which we are creating the IP document that is nothing but the Vistex document. We are doing the accruals. We are doing the actual settlement. So if you see this one is done at the individual document level. Okay, so that is why this is called as transactional model. So another approach is there, which is called as the composite model. So this is widely used and important. Both are important, but this is also this is widely used. Okay, so here in this model, what will happen? So if the volumes are huge, so let's say every day like 500 invoices are being generated. Okay? So if you want to process each document individually using background jobs, it will be a huge load on the system, right? So instead of that, what we can do, we have like different components. Okay, based on this, what we will be doing is like based on the invoice, you will be updating the intermediate LIS. Okay, so LIS we have like LIS in standard SAP, right? Logistics information system. So this is updated. Okay. So the invoice data based on the invoice data IP document is created. Okay. This part till this part is common. So IP LIS it can be bucket also. It can be buckets. This is not nothing but some table kind of thing, okay, which stores data. Okay. So based on this, what we'll be doing. So at the end of the month, what we'll do is like based on the settlement frequency for the customer. Okay, so based on the business requirement, it can be monthly or quarterly or semi-annual or annual. Based on the customer and requirement and business scenario, we'll set this up. Okay, so let's take the example of monthly, so which is generally the case in 90% of the cases. So what will happen instead of processing each document individually? Now here what I can do. So system will what it will do is like it will capture all these values. So this is generated. So I want to check. I want to process all the IP documents or the rebates for the month of December. Okay, so December 2019. I want to process all the rebates for customer C1. So what I will do, I will try to accumulate all this data. Okay, so that is already captured here, right? So we have separate transactions that is collective tracking in this case. So here we will just key in the customer customer and the agreement, okay, the contract. So based on this, we will be doing a lot of configuration for this. We will be going in detail. Just I'm just trying to differentiate between the different models, approaches which we have in this text. So what system will do instead of passing individually, here system will tell that okay, you have to for the month of December 2019 for customer C1 you have to pay $50,000. So how it arrived at this value is like by accumulating all the rebates which are created for the month. Okay, so in the month of December for customer C1, 1,000 invoices are generated. So based on 1,000 invoices, he is eligible for so 1,000 IP docs are created, example, and based on all the cumulative value of those documents is 50,000. Okay, so system what it will do, it will capture it will arrive at this value based on the configuration which will be doing, and it will say
So
this
Anil,
month for yeah
this 50,000 amount,
yeah
does it go through all the invoices one by one for that month and it calculates, or it gets from the buckets or the LIS, one of these two?
yes yeah
No,
that's
I'm
what
asking like from where it gets 50,000. does it calculate each invoice and then adds up and comes to
No, no,
50,000, or it takes the information from buckets?
no. So here in this example, if you see, this is $20, right? So this is for
Yeah.
invoice one and IP.1, that is $20, right? Similarly, this is generated on, let's say this invoice is created on 2nd December. So, December 3rd. So another invoice is created. So based on that, new IP document, new Vistex document is created. Okay. So this is the value of this document is like example $50. So what
So
system?
basically, it goes through each invoice document for that month and calculates. It
Yes,
doesn't
yes.
take any information from LIS.
No. What the LIS and bucket typically they don't have any importance. So the value, the rebate value which is calculated, all these details are updated in the bucket or LIS. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. So one more question.
Yeah.
So then where do you use this LIS and bucket?
Sorry. Where?
Where do we use this LIS and the bucket?
Yeah. So this is for the composite model. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the transaction model, typical cycle is like this one. Okay. Invoice IP equivalence settlement. If you see,
Okay.
okay. So this is the transaction model. But if you want to go to use a composite model, you will be using the LIs and the buckets. Okay.
So
Yeah.
for each
So
invoice, there will be one IP document for each invoice. So
typically,
let's say there are some changes, in the invoice, then you
mhm.
create one more IP document, or it updates the existing IP document.
Yeah. So how it happens is like if you we have a functionality called reprise. Okay. So which we generally is
Yeah.
done at the end of the month, a couple of days before the end of the month. Okay. So once we run the reprise, what system does is like there are any changes in the invoice or in the contract, it will pull the new values and it will update. Yeah, we'll go in detail into that, but for now, try
Okay.
to just understand. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So this is like a typical for each module to work. The transaction model or the composite model, we have like so many components which we have to define in the backend. Okay, which we will discuss in the next class. But for now, try to understand what we are going to learn and what are the different approaches. Okay. So the composite model, it also gains or it also has importance. Why? Because we can also use it for checking the target. Okay, target based rebates. So this can use also for target based rebates. So what is a target based rebate? So I'm saying so we have like supply example, and we have Apollo Pharmacy. Okay. So Cipla is there and Apollo Pharmacy is there. So Cipla guy is telling Apollo Pharmacy if you sell 10,000 worth, worth of goods in this month, in the month of, in a month. Okay. So then I'll give 2% on the total value as a rebate. Okay. So when this rebate is given, so once this value is achieved, then only I will give, right? So for that to calculate how system can calculate, it can't calculate each document level, right? So for that purpose also we'll use the composite model. So same example applies here. So invoice one, but here in this case target based rebates, we are not calculating the rebate at IP document level as we did in the transaction model. Okay. So here in this case, what will update in the bucket? We'll just try to update the invoice value. Okay. So invoice value is $1,000. So in IP document, we are not calculating any rebate. The same value is updated in bucket. Okay. So at the end of the month, I'm checking and running the tracking. Okay. So I'll check. Same for as part of this agreement, which I have supply example, supply and Vistex in this case. So supply is checking at the end of the month if Apollo Pharmacy has achieved this much a target. So we do a lot of background setup for this to work. We will go in detail, but for now, just try to understand this example. So I checked based on a specific agreement which I had with Apollo. I checked and we reached a target of 11,000 K example. So we can have slabs in the Vistex agreement. We can maintain slabs or scales also. Okay. So in Vistex Matrix, what I'll maintain if you reach 11,000 K, I'll give you 3%. If you reach 12,000 K, I'll pay 4%. This kind of thing. Okay. So that is like typical two approaches which we have for Vistex, the transaction model and the composite model. So one more important thing is like you might be getting wondered. So which modules, these two models are applicable in which model, which type of rebates. Okay, so we'll go back to our previous slides. If you see, like we have like five modules listed. So these two models they apply across all the five modules, all the Vistex models. Okay. So any module can have it can have. So example, the example which I just showed is sales rebate, right? So sales rebate can have transaction model as well as composite model. Similarly, purchase rebate can have transactional composite. Similarly, incentives also. Okay, if you want to give incentive to the sales employee, I can give like based on the each invoice. Okay, so if he does a sale of like $100, I'll pay him $20 flat rebate. I can give flat rebate, okay? Or I can give percentage rebate, or I can give dollar per quantity rebate. So it applies for these three models. Similarly, for chargebacks, billbacks. So these two models, transactional model and composite model, they can be used in any of the Vistex modules based on the business requirement. Okay, so that is one part. So there can be we can give different types of rebates, right? So what are the different rebates which we can give? Flat rebate. Okay, we can have percentage rebate. We can have dollar per quantity. Okay, so these are the generally three types of rebates which are given, but based on the business which the customer is in, they're called by different names, right? So we can generally we see main type of names, naming conventions which you see are like admin fees will be there, like marketing fee will be there. Okay, so CM fee is there. Okay, so typically these are the generic variations of the rebates. Okay, so, but in business terminology, the names which customer calls them, it can be something like admin fee, marketing fee, CM fee. Okay, yeah. Okay, so basically we have like five modules which we are part of this text. Okay, and there are two approaches. Give me 1 second. Yes, sorry. Yeah, so basically we have like five modules. Okay, so five modules can have either a transaction model approach or a composite model approach. Okay, so as part of this training, what we'll do is like we'll set up one sales rebate scenario in the transaction model. Similarly, we'll try to set up one transaction scenario for bill backs. Okay, so these two we'll set up in the system. Similarly, we'll set up one composite process for the sales rebates. So two transaction setup and one composite setup we'll do. Purchase rebates, and sales incentives, chargeback. These three modules will go in detail about the components. We have like building blocks which are part of which are necessary for running the setup. Okay, so we'll discuss in detail for each process. So sales rebate, transactional, billbacks transactional, and sales rebate composite. These three will do hands-on in the system. Purchase rebate, sales incentive, and chargebacks will go in detail each step of the configuration. I'll show you. That way, we will be covering the 5 modules. If you see, typically these are the different components which will be covering at a high level. So we have like the Vistex agreement is also called as a contract. So people use it synonymously agreement contract. Okay, so before creating the actual Vistex agreement, we'll be using the concept called agreement request. Okay, so that is nothing but the virtual contract kind of thing. So that one is not a mandatory object, but we'll discuss on that. Why? Because it is best practice as suggested by Vistex. Okay. So after that, we'll be checking the Vistex agreement customizing and maintenance configuration that we will do. So the main important thing is like condition technique setup for Vistex. We'll be leveraging on the SAP SD functionality, the V/067, V/08. So we'll be using the standard condition technique, but the way we set up the way we set up and define the condition type access sequence, so that is completely different in Vistex. So we'll go in detail how it is done. So we'll check the different basic functions, so different objects in Vistex customizing. So the process flow. So the IP type setup and mapping. IP type is nothing but Vistex document. To create the Vistex document. So this is like IP type is nothing but the sales type, sales document type kind of thing. Okay. So for OR we have sales order, we have OR, and invoice we have to write. Similarly, for IP Vistex document, it is called as IP type. So the next concept is like the accrual and settlement profiles. So for doing the accruals, postings to GL accounts, we'll be defining these two things in this text. We'll go in detail. So for the account determination, we'll do that setup and we'll go in detail. So we'll discuss on the integration with FI components. And similarly, we'll be working on the claims, the Vistex claims. This is like a different setup which I explained before. So claim is nothing but it is a source document which is similar to our invoice. So we'll go in detail how we'll create that one, set up the pricing, everything. So this claim, it is used in the billback and the chargeback process. So this chargeback and billback process, it is generally used in the US pharma business. Okay, so all the major pharma companies operating in US, they'll be having this chargebacks and billbacks. So this is like a different representation of the transaction model. So if you see here, we have like different source documents, the sales order, the claim, the invoice, or the purchase order. Okay? So based on this source documents, we'll be creating the Vistex document. Okay? So IP document, that is the general term for Vistex document. So based on the module, you can call it like we have 5 modules, right? So if it's chargeback model, it's called chargeback IP document. If it's billback, it's called as billback IP document. So if it's incentives, sales incentive, it's called as sales incentive document. So like that. Okay? And once the document is created, the equivalent settlement will happen. This one, transaction model, little easy to set up when compared to the composite model. Okay. So this is like the composite model. So in both transaction and composite, invoice, IP docs, these two are same. But intermediate and other components which are required for composite model are like the buckets where it will be accumulating the data. And again, we have to define so many components. So to run the tracking, we call as tracking. To run the to fill the details specific to customer or a period, we call it as the deployment code. Okay, so once we progress, you will be getting a hang of these terms. For now, just try to remember like you have to create like deployment group, deployment code, deployment component, deployment subcomponent. Okay, so yeah, we'll be creating different components to work on the model. As we progress, we'll be discussing on each one of these in detail. Okay, so this is like the composite model. Okay, so you'll have like one different concept also called as participation. Participation is nothing but, as I mentioned earlier, based on the settlement frequency at which we want to give the customer. Okay, so if you want to pay the customer on monthly basis, so when I run the details, when I fill the track, I'm using our tracking. Okay, so just I'll using this mostly. So tracking. Why I'm calling it as tracking because I'm trying to fill the details of the customer for a month. Okay, I want to settle for a month customer C1. So I'll be running the details for a month. Okay, so similarly, I want to do, do analysis for a quarterly basis for a particular customer. So then I'll be running tracking for a quarterly basis. So in quarterly basis, what will happen? I'll be filling details for 3 months, right? So this one, it will happen is like based on the participation. Okay, uh, similar to the fiscal year variance we have, right? Based on that, it will work. We'll go in detail, don't worry. But just for now, try to understand like this. So basically, you have 5 modules.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
Anil. Can I ask a quick question, please?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, you mentioned there is something based on the fiscal year variant. Does fiscal year variant affect the tracking or the rebates?
Yeah, yeah, yes. So basically, you'll be telling the system like pulling the details for a month, or you have like concept called as evaluation period, based on which system will be pulling the details. Yes.
Details of fiscal year variant.
No, 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 no. Based on the fiscal year variant, if the variant has like 12 equal periods,
Yeah,
okay, that means it is a monthly one, right?
yeah.
If the variant has like 4 equal periods, that is a quarterly variant. So based on this one, what we are basically trying to do is like here in this example, I mentioned it. So 50K, that is the total value, right? So for the specific for a customer C1 based on agreement A1, so the total rebate which I have to pay is like 500K. This is for a month, okay? Similarly, for another customer, the settlement frequency is like quarterly. So for him, I'll be having a separate contract, right?
Yeah, but my question is, the customer won't
Yeah,
be bothered about our fiscal years. They'll be bothered about the calendar periods.
yeah, yeah, yes, yes, I know. Yeah, we'll be leveraging on the standard periods only. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
FI periods. So as I mentioned earlier, so all the customer master data, material master data, vendor master, this clear variants, GL accounts, accounting determination. So everything we'll be using from SAP, SD, FI, and MM only. Okay, so nothing in this steps we are not implementing or creating anything new related to this. So we will be leveraging entirely on the standard SAP modules, using which we'll be doing the further processing in Vistex. Yeah, that is how it is. So this is like the high level details of the composite model. So now we'll try to understand the different modules. Okay, so and in which industry they are generally used. Okay, so the sales report. If you see, before going to that, I'll just quickly. Okay, so in any business, like, there will be having like three parts, right? Generally, I'm taking a generic example. You have a manufacturer, you have a distributor, and you have an end customer. Okay? So in some cases, the manufacturer you can be selling to the end customer directly also. Okay? But in most of the cases, this is the case, right? Three parties are involved: manufacturer, distributor, and the end customer. So for our example, so just small example. So these are like three parties example. So supply here is the manufacturer. Okay. We'll use this example for all the five modules. So that will be easy to understand. So supply is manufacturing a product, so you can't sell to the customer directly, right? So you'll be using Apollo, who is the distributor, okay? And Apollo is selling to the end customer. Similarly, let's say, okay, so Apple is there. Okay, so it's selling iPhones to Big C Dairy. So this is one example. These two will consider. So for the first example, we'll go with this approach: two parties, manufacturer and then customer. Okay. So what happens in a sales rebate? So if you see, they are nothing but the outgoing payments which are made to can be made to a customer, channel partner, or a purchase organization, or based on the volume commitments or loyalty or revenue growth. So why business have to engage in giving rebates to the customers is because to retain the customer, right? Customer retention, to grow, for revenue growth. So for different reasons they'll be doing, right? So for increasing the loyalty in the customer, to for revenue growth, to increase the sales for different reasons. Okay, so to compete in the market, so they will be offering different plans and giving different kinds of rebates. Okay, so in this case, when there are two parties involved, generally we'll be using the sales rebate model. You want to give rebate to the customer, so in that case, we'll be using the sales rebate module of Vistex. Okay. So here manufacturing is selling to the end customer, then we can use sales rebate. Similarly, distributor, I think distributor for Apple phone is Reddington. So Reddington also can have sales rebate, right? So he's selling to the end customer some different mobile shop or someone. Okay. So here if you see, manufacturer can install sales rebates module for Vista. Similarly, distributors they also can have a sales rebate module. Okay. So in this case, what is happening? As I mentioned earlier, we can have three different rebates, right? So this is like generic example. You can, based on the business, you can have others also. Okay. So this is like the high level description of sales rebates. Similarly, we have purchase rebate. Okay, so purchase rebates. What is a purchase rebate? So purchase rebate is generally used by the distributor. Okay, so distributor is saying, distributor or the channel partner, he will be saying channel partner. So I mentioned Reddington. If you take a pharma example, we have so many distributors, like big distributors in the US, like ABC is there, Microsoft Cardinal. Okay, so many distributors are there. Right? So these days, what they can do, they can install Vistex. Okay. So what they are the distributors. So they will be having links with so many vendors, right? So they have a contract with so many vendors. Example, they're buying products from Seplar and Dr. Reddy and Lupin. Okay, so they are by these guys, the distributors, what they're doing, they're buying products from these many different vendors, right? So the vendors might be selling the same product with a different brand name. Okay, so what they'll do, they'll say like you, I'll purchase this much worth of products, like say 10,000 worth of products this month. So you pay me 3% as rebate, or I'll purchase like 1,000 quantity in a month from you, and you give me $2 for each quantity. Okay, so these kind of things will be there. Okay, so in this case, the distributor is having this text. So the module which they will be generally installing is purchase rebates. Why this is important? I'll tell you example. So generally, how business operate without a proper automation software, they will be having business users, rebates team, the chargebacks team. Okay, so they will be processing all the details from the customer. They will be doing all the validations in Excel, right? So much of manual effort, and they will be relying only on Excel. So there are chances of so many errors and so much loss, right? So because of this, many customers use purchase rebates. Okay, so a lot of distributors use purchase rebates wherein they can keep track of even at cents or dollars level. Okay, so there is no leak, and there is complete transparency, and the reporting is also very robust in Vistex. There are few standard reports available at material level, but based on the business requirement, we can do a lot of customized reports also. Okay, so this is like typical. This is purchase rebate example. Okay. Similarly, you have incentives, right? So incentive, as I mentioned earlier, there are nothing but the sales commissions or incentives which are paid to the sales employees to motivate them to perform better, to increase the sales. Okay, in that case, we'll be using the sales incentive module. So if you observe in this case, in sales rebate, our source will be generally we will be using the invoice as a reference. Okay, in purchase rebates, we will be using purchase order as a reference. In sales incentives, you'll be using invoice as a reference. Okay? Sales incentive, it can be used in any industry, right? So any business, whether it's a manufacturer or a distributor, they can use sales incentives. This is like a sales incentive module. We have purchase rebates, we have sales incentives. Similarly, we have two more modules, the chargeback and the bill backs. These two typically are mostly used in the pharma business. Okay, so here this one is little tricky. We'll take this example only. So now what is happening? So supply is selling M1 product to Apollo for $100. Okay. So WAC or wholesale acquisition cost for Apollo is $100. Okay. But what is happening? There is one agreement between supply and customer. Okay. So what supply is telling Apollo is like you sell it to first pharma for $80. Okay, so it's saying there is one contract. So it's saying you sell it for $80 only. So in this case, what is happening? Apollo purchased for $100, but he is forced to sell to First Pharma for $80 only. So in this case, what has happened? He has sold it at a loss of $20, right? He sold it at a loss of $20. So what he will do is like Apollo Pharmacy, what he will do is like he will send a claim to Cipla saying, I sold this material M1 at a price. Okay, so I sold it for $80 because of which you have to pay me $20. Okay, so that $20 claim Apollo will be sending to Cipla. Okay, so that is called as chargeback claim. Okay, so this guy is sending claim to Cipla, that is called as chargeback claim. So based Cipla at Cipla also he will be having so many allegations, right? So he has to check whether this guy has actually purchased the product or not, whether the prices he's quoting is correct or not. So that things he will validate from his end also, and then he will settle the $20 to Apollo. Okay, so billback module is generally installed at manufacturer level. Manufacturer. Similarly, distributors will be having chargeback modules. Okay, these guys will be having chargeback module. So this guy is asking $20 from manufacturer, right? So he will be paying, he will be taking from his end, and then he will be paying the $20 using that claim as a source document. Okay, so how the distributor can send claim to the manufacturer? He can send. There are so many modes of communication, right? So how can a distributor send claim to manufacturer? So generally there are so many approaches, right? So you can send by email. Okay, so you can send a PDF document. You can send by Excel. So if the customer is having SAP, they will be sending through IDOC, right? EDA, IDOC. Okay. So as the businesses evolve and as they grow bigger, so how it happens is like the distributor once he sends the claim, okay, so they will be having different interface also. So once the claim is sent by the distributor, okay, so that is received by manufacturer as a IDOC. I'm taking a big customer example of big customer. So automated, which is automated. The claim comes to the manufacturer as IDOC. So in Vistex, background job runs, okay, and the claim is created in manufacturer system. So another background job, how what it does, it validates the values. So $20 which the distributor is asking is correct. Okay. So in that case, what we have to do, we have to pay the amount, right, to the customer. So for that to happen, the manufacturer will be creating a billback IP document in the system, right, for $20. So this is created. So this document is created, but it is not actually paid to the customer, right? So what will happen? Mistake document value is computed, but the actual settlement didn't happen, right? So this has to be settled, right? So we have like settlement also. So once we do the settlement, then actual $20 is paid to the customer. Okay, so this is like both chargebacks and billbacks. These two typically go hand in hand. Okay. The terminology why it is different because if this text is installed at manufacturer level, it is called as billback. Why? Because the manufacturer will be paying to the distributor, right? But if this text is installed at the distributor level, it is called as chargebacks. Why? Because you will be sending a chargeback claim to the manufacturer. So the terminology we have used like different terms today, right? So the sales rebates. I'll just try to summarize the different keywords which I used today. So, sales rebate is used synonymously with customer rebates. Similarly, sales incentives is there, that is used synonymously with sales commissions. Purchase rebates. Similarly, you have bill backs. So this is at the manufacturer level, right? So this is also called as paybacks. So these are the different terms which are used in the industry. Okay. We have chargebacks. This is when which takes is at the distributor level. Here in this case, Vistex is at manufacturer level. So these are like the different terms specific to Vistex. Similarly, I used it tracking, right? So we will go in detail in the next classes. This is for composite, right? Composite model. So this is like high level description of what are the different modules in Vistex and what they'll be doing. In the next class, what we'll try to understand is like we'll try to identify the different building blocks, for setting up this transactional as well as composite model. Okay. So what are the different components which we need to set up in Vistex for setting up the transaction model as well as the composite model? So we'll discuss on those things in the next class, and after that we'll start with the sales rebate model. We'll take one example business scenario and we'll set it up in the system, and we'll try to see how it works. We'll run one end-to-end cycle transactional first. Then we'll do BillX transactional end-to-end cycle. Then we'll work on the composite model. So that is the plan. Yeah. So for now, for today, I think we are good. Any questions?
Hey, Anil.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So does Vistex uses like baddies, bappies,
Yeah.
SAP?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So you'll be talking about that one also, right? What baddies we use?
Yeah.
Okay. User exists is using.
Yeah.
Because what I understood from one of my friends, they work in Vistex. So they say a lot of like ABAP and technical we need. Is it true? It's not like
it's like a little bit more than SD, that is true, but
okay.
that is fine, I think. Yeah, not a problem. We can just guide the developer. Not in all the cases. In the examples which we will be defining, if you see, we won't be requiring any technical help anywhere. But in business cases, if you want to flip the pricing based on the some scenario or a specific condition, if you want to have some requirement code in the requirement routine or the base value routine or condition value, okay, or if you want to have the split in the IP document, or if you want to flip the GL account for a specific customer, so any gaps, all those things you will be requiring. But I think regular ABAP developer should be able to help, not an issue. Yeah, I'll be discussing on the
Okay, as a functional, we should be telling the adapter, right? Which user exit he has to use, all those things. So we will be covering that part also.
Yeah, I'll explain the baddies and user exits which we have in we based on the module and based on the scenario, we can give the details to the ABAPer where we have to keep the code. You can write the logic, not an issue.
Okay.
Everything is similar to SD only, not a big issue. But what the thing is like the approach is different. The components are different, so the baddies and user exits are different, right? So that is how it is.
Okay. Can you go back to the spreadsheet what you are using for training?
Yeah.
Okay. Here you said IDOC comes to the manufacturer, claim is created in the manufacturer system, IP document is created, and then you said accrual comes between IP document and settlement, right? You didn't say
Yeah. So accrual, accrual can also be done here.
it
So
comes
that is
before
not a
settlement.
mandatory step. So
Okay.
some clients, what they will do is like accruals, they will do it outside the stakes also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So accrual is basically calculating. That's what it means.
Yeah, that's it. No. So in billback I2 document, based on our pricing, what system does is $20 it calculated, right? So
Yeah.
what will happen? So 1 second. We have like three transactions will be there. So in accrual, what will happen is like GL account, is there, immediate account, customer account. So in accrual, what is happening is like GL account, business expense account is debited, okay, and the intermediate account is credited, okay. In settlement, what will happen? So the same intermediate account is debited,
It
okay.
will reverse. Okay.
Yeah, it will reverse, and the customer account is credited for $20. So that is how it is.
Okay.
So two steps. So we will discuss everything in detail. You'll understand, but from high level, this is how it
Okay.
is.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Have a nice day. Thank you. If you have any queries, you can reach out to Vivek. You can discuss with him, or you can reach out to me also. Okay.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernest.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye. Tomorrow we'll have in the evening session. Same time, 5:30.